Hello everyone, I'm the friend I've just blown in. And today we are back with more Seduce Me 2, The Demon Walls. Last time, we started trading, we met Mirth, yay, best girl. And then we came back to our room, and Damien was kind of in physical pain. 'Cause reasons, yeah. Poor guy. And then we had some interesting discussions on which is better, human or demon Damien. Yeah, good times. And by that I mean poor Damien. And with that, let's get back into it. Looking down at Damien's sleeping form, he had turned his head in his sleep, so I could only see the top of his orange head. Aww, a cute little carrot. I smiled slightly and kissed the top of his head, causing him to stir a bit in my arms. At the end of it all, I wanted what was best for us, and that was something we had to deal with together. Whether or not this ended with him being a human or not was up in the air. But, for now, I had the responsibility of caring for him. Exactly. Oh, look at him. Damien gently squeezed my form, allowing me to take in that he was awake now, and looked up at me with tired eyes.
Good morning.
Well, it's a morning. I don't know if it's a good one yet. I couldn't help but smile at his expression. He was an early bird, but the rare occasion when I caught him more entranced in sleep than me were moments I found so adorable. Good morning, sleepyhead. Damien blushed a bit before crawling up a bit and kissing me sweetly. I smiled wider against his lips and wrapped my arms around him, melting into the kiss lovingly. Mwah. It had been years since I felt an incubus's energy drain. Still, to feel my energy snake over my nerves into my lips felt odd. I had to get used to it again for now, and I tightened my arms around Damien to keep from pulling away from the slight surprise it brought me. As we slowly pulled away, I could see a tint of gold course through Damien's eyes as he looked down at me and licked his lips. A red tint blushed over my cheeks. Was my energy that delicious? Yeah, as someone who's probably hasn't eaten anything in years, I'd have to imagine, yeah. What did it even taste like? Strawberries. I'm willing to say strawberries. Before I could ask, however, Damien sat up and stretched his arms over his head, letting a small yawn trickle from his throat. When he relaxed, he looked towards the table, seeing the food Diana brought us.
Oh, wow. Did you make that?
Yeah! Let's go with that. I looked over before shaking my head. Oh, I'm too honest. Diana came and delivered it to us. Damien observed the plates for a bit as he listened to me before rolling out of bed and going over to the table and lifting the plates off of them. As he turned back to me, I took the time to sit up in bed, leaning back against the bedpost. Damien passed a plate to me and sat beside me, placing his own plate on his lap and eating what was prepared for us. I, however, watched for a moment, wondering what was going on in his head. What did he think about the whole thing? He seemed to be in better shape than he was before, which was good. Was he easily adjusting back to being a demon? A part of me felt a little happy at the idea, while the other part of me tried to be realistic. This was temporary. Maybe. As Damien caught me staring, he looked up at me and stopped eating, causing me to flinch from being caught and started eating my own food.
What is it? You were staring at me. What's wrong?
Sweetie, why wouldn't I stare at you? What do you think about this? You're just so handsome. You know what? It's a fair question. What do you think about this? This, at the end of the day, is impacting you more than me.
About what?
Wow, we turn off your mind reading for a second and... Wow. Well, about being a demon and stuff. Wow, Mika. Eloquent. I couldn't read his mind. I needed to figure it out somehow, and it was better to ask him personally than to make any assumptions. Maybe he changed his mind about the whole thing, or maybe it became worse. I'm gonna say probably made it worse. Only he knew. Exactly. Damien looked down at his plate for a moment before closing his eyes.
I don't like it.
Okay, understandable. You don't?
I don't. As good as it is to have my powers back, I still don't like using them.
Fair enough. But you do need to get comfortable with them again. So you'd rather be a human without powers to fight? I didn't intend to be rude, but I'm totally going to, with the question. But the idea of enjoying a powerless life seemed rather odd to me. Damien nodded, affirming my comment.
I would rather have no abilities at all than live with the responsibility of them. Having power has brought me too much pain for me to be happy with them.
And that's why I say you've really just got to be comfortable in your own skin, and you so clearly aren't. Damien looked up at me, a serious flame in his eyes.
But if having powers will get us home, then I will do everything I can to ensure that we return safely.
Cool. I stared wide-eyed at Damien, surprised at his words, but thankful for how much he was willing to work for us to get back home. He was right. What mattered at the moment was getting us home. We would figure the human part out after we returned. Denny and I continued to eat and eventually separated for training. Him to his brothers and me towards my own training session. Yeah, bye love. I trained once more, from the morning to the night, desperate to become better at the sword. Ruth managed time to step in occasionally to give me pointers, but she became an observer as I practiced on my own, seeing me improve. Yay! I'm getting better! Training was rough, but my body knew that it had to be ready for the journey and battle ahead. Staring into the skies, I became enamored by the darkening purple tint. As I prepared to head inside, knowing that I had to find cover before it became totally dark, rustling the tall bushes near the castle walls caught my attention. What the? Kitty! I slowly inched my way forward and moved the brush aside, watching as two figures darted off into the forest. Determined and curious to find out who they were, I began to pursue them. What? No, why? We were told not to leave the castle. Sneaking through the trees was no easy task, but I managed to keep my distance and keep the shadowy figures in my sight, before seeing them stop by a collection of trees, with one leaning against one of the tree trunks with the other curled over their legs, gasping for air. What now?
Hey! Slow down, you big dork.
What now? Hey, Carrie! Huh? I knew that voice. I focused between the brush of the trees and bushes to concentrate on the figures, finally able to figure out who they were. Well, we know one's Carrie, so I'm guessing the other one's Sam? Called it! Leaning by the set of trees were Sam and Carrie, with him smirking at his wife who was panting for air.
Oh, what's wrong? Too fast for you?
Girl, kick him. Noticing the obvious innuendo, Carrie pressed her lips together, unable to stop the giggles from making her body shake from holding them in.
Too fast. Seems to be a problem of yours.
Oh, come on. Do you want me to carry you all the time? It's not even hard.
Aww. Also, what Bella and Sam? Also, what Belle and Edward nonsense if I walked in on. Also, it's good to see them happy.
That's what she said.
Badum-tis.
That's not... I did it!
Oh, Carrie, you are a delight. I couldn't help but silently laugh at the two of them. Sam and Carrie were perfect for each other. Yes, yes they are. Even if Sam doesn't become Lord of Dragons. They were both feisty and, despite having their differences, they were madly in love, showing with every laugh and kiss they shared. See, she can make it work with a demon, why can't I? I was extremely happy that Sam and Carrie had hit it off so well, remembering how hilarious they had met, and how their journey to eventually marriage became full of excitement and energy. Despite her jabs at her husband, Carrie naturally gave off an older sister kind of aura, and she was always doing something to take care of the Incubus brothers, their wives, and me. She truly made us feel like family, and Sam loved to brag about how he had the best woman ever at his side. That's not me. Because, you know, in another verse, that's me. I don't know what happens to Carrie in that verse, but... Still, I was particularly happy for Sam. He really seemed to have it rough in the human world for a while, and had even talked about returning to the demon world after his 4 brothers settled down. Okay, you're the last person to find somebody. That tracks. When Carrie came into his life, though, he seemed to change his mind.
Okay, I'll stop. That's what you get for making me run.
Exactly. Ew.
Come on. You know you love me, you doofus.
What now? Isn't that my name? Sir, no.
Yeah, I do, but I'll fight you anyway. Now come here.
Aww. Carrie walked over and leaned her body against Sam's chest, making him naturally wrap his arms around her and nuzzle her forehead. They smiled happily at each other as Carrie wrapped her arms around his neck.
So, what's this about anyway? Did you just want your slow-ass human wife to chase you for shits and giggles?
It does feel like something he'd do. Sam took a moment, his smile slowly fading, before squeezing Carrie's body tightly and looking down to the ground beside him.
Well, I wanted to,
Yes, use your words. I became worried. What was wrong with Sam? He lapsed into silence as he stared at the ground, brow furrowed as he struggled to find what he wanted to say. Carrie's head tilted to the side as she looked up at him, her earlier mirthful humor gone from her expression.
Hey.
You okay, buddy? I watched as one of her hands rose to the back of his head, softly stroking his hair.
It's just me, Sam. You can tell me.
Come on, use your words. With a sigh, Sam finally returned his gaze to Carrie, eyes almost pleading.
Carrie, marry me.
Aww. Aww. She stared at him in confusion, lips parting to say something before she froze. Her expression slowly morphed into shock as she realized what he meant. I remained confused, not sure at all what he was talking about. They were already married, right? Oh, right. Sam's whole thing was he wanted to be demon married. Okay, this is really interesting that we get to see this play out again with a different person. You know, this is still important to him.
Sam, are you serious?
Are you? Sam nodded, his nervousness obvious from his worried expression. He took one of Carrie's hands from around his neck and kissed over her wedding ring, before closing his eyes and inhaling deeply.
I always thought I'd come back to the Abyssal Plains, you know?
Uh-huh.
I never felt like I belonged in the human world like my brothers. So I figured I'd eventually come back.
Maybe kick my old man's ass while I was at it. But
And here we are! Only you ended up bringing your wife-girlfriend with you. Sam looked down at Carrie and cupped her cheek, the white streak in her hair catching the fading evening light and flashing silver as he brushed it behind her ear. I could see a faint blush spread across her cheeks as she stared up at him, listening intently.
after I met you, I stopped caring about the demon world. We're coming back someday. All I care about is you. And I don't think I could even be happy here anymore if you're not by my side.
Aww.
So I want to take one last thing away from this world before I leave it behind. I want to marry you like the demon I am before I say fucking and ditch this plane for good. Huh? Up for it?
Aww. I have never seen this scene before, so this is very interesting. Almost as if on cue, the wind softly began to pick up and the leaves rustle around them, flower petals dancing along the sudden breeze. Carrie's eyes began to water as she nuzzled Sam's hand with a smile.
You dork, making me worry. Of course I'll bind my soul to you, Sam.
Aww. And that's something that's also very fascinating about Carrie, is she is a witch. She does have some insight into what is going on in this world, in this plane. Also, what demon marrying someone means, binding of souls. I stared wide-eyed. Bind her soul to him? Was that how demon marriage worked? Yeah, if you're thinking. It seemed so as Sam grinned from ear to ear, tears filling his own eyes, as he embraced Carrie tightly to him and buried his head in her shoulder. Carrie laughed, finally crying as she hugged him.
Binding our souls. Does that mean that next time we're reborn, we can have a better first date than Denny's?
I totally believe that about Sam. Also, aww, how cute. Aww. Carrie's best wife.
Don't look at me, doofus. That was all your idea anyway.
I highly doubt that.
I know, I'm just making a mental note here. How are we gonna find everything for the ritual? God, where are we even gonna do it?
Sam laughed and pulled away, kissing Carrie's forehead before staring down at her.
Don't worry, I got it. Diana said she had a private garden or something where we can do the ritual. She's gonna give us what we need too, so we don't have to worry about it.
Aww! Thank you, Diana. You're awesome. Carrie smiled and lightly poked Sam's forehead.
I seem to recall you having nothing but nasty things to say about that crazy bitch before. Is she finally growing on you?
It's Diana. It's kind of hard for her not to grow on you. She is kind of amazing. Shut up, she's my girl crush.
Oh, for fuck's sake, just shut up and come here already.
Aww. Sam grinned before leaning and kissing Carrie hard, wrapping a hand behind her head to pull her towards his lips. Carrie inhaled sharply before relaxing into the kiss, pressing upward onto her toes to reach. Sam's arm around her waist pulled her against him until her feet left the ground and she kicked up her feet in joy, ankles crossed as she clung to him. Aww. I was insanely happy for them. They looked like a newly engaged couple again, nearly glowing in the incoming night. Whatever they were going to do to bind their souls, I hope it worked for them. I do too. I quickly turned and left, not wanting to disturb their time together, and marched back inside the castle towards my room and my sexy guy. I didn't look forward to walking back to my room after training. It was easily the hardest part of my day. However, I found it comforting to take my time exploring the castle on my way back. What I didn't expect was to hear a surprised shout echo through the stone halls.
You nerd!
Go on? I froze in my tracks, recognizing the voice and deciding to quietly tiptoe towards the door of the room it came from. I peeked in to see the interior of the library, and my gaze zeroed in on Iridessa, who was seated in a chair, covering her face with a book, while James leaned over the top of the chair and smirked down at her. And I actually think we've seen this scene. It was like watching a game of cat and mouse. I think we have seen this one in sessions past. Anyway, Iridessa looked up at her husband from behind her book with a giggle, and James watched her like a curious hunter.
I'm sorry. Am I intruding on your reading?
Clearly, but I don't think she minds.
No, you're being a big nerd and you know it. Peeking over my shoulder and scaring me like that? How rude.
Exactly. Ew. With a small chuckle, James moved from behind the chair to leaning closer to Iridessa, laying a soft peck on her cheek. She tried to bite back her smile to no avail, instead hiding it behind her book, amusement clear in her eyes.
I apologize. I won't do it again.
Sure you will.
You liar. You definitely will.
Exactly. Iridessa dropped the book to her lap with a pout, before shooting James a mock glare as he continued to simply smile at her, as if he had done absolutely nothing wrong. She couldn't keep the expression up, however, letting out an amused huff of breath as she tugged at her lips.
I'll make it up to you. I'll serve you a plate of crepes in the morning.
Ooh. Girl, take the offer.
Will you feed it to me as well?
Will you?
If that is what you wish.
Cool.
Well, I don't need it, but I won't say no.
Aww. The dynamic between them always danced between a mature king and queen-like couple, to Iridessa being insanely hard to get and James giving a playful bait-and-switch chase. It was amusing to catch glimpses of their intimacy. Even when they had first met, the relationship between Iridessa and James always seemed to fluctuate on who was truly in charge. Interesting. Iridessa let out a sigh, sitting up straight in her chair as James walked over to the fireplace and stared into the flames. Her countenance wavered as she watched him, features shifting into something more hesitant, almost nervous, a stark contrast to her earlier mirth. What's going on?
Hey, James?
Yes, Yui?
Aw, Yuri. See, he even calls her that.
Can I ask you something?
Can she? James looked over to her in curiosity, nodding to the question. Iridessa took a deep breath and closed her book in her hands, laying it on her lap.
We're gonna go home soon, right?
Hopefully.
Of course. As soon as we resolve this war, we'll return home.
Yay! Something was wrong. I could feel it just by looking at Iridessa, and I knew James did as well. She had something on her mind, but she wouldn't say it aloud.
Is something troubling you, love?
Is it? What did he do? Do I have to hurt him? She closed her eyes and took a moment to seemingly gather her nerves, before looking to James once again.
It's just... Is it wrong that I kind of don't want us to be here?
No, you're a human. You don't belong on the Abyssal Plains. What? Where did this come from? James seemed to be confused by the question, too, raising an eyebrow at her.
Huh? What do you mean?
What do you mean? Iridessa's teeth dug into her lower lip before she placed the book on the table, beside her chair, and stood up, hugging her arms around herself, her fingers tapping at her arms with an anxious tick.
Is it bad that I don't want us to be in the same place as Diana?
Oh, okay, yeah, she was kind of engaged to James at one point. I stared wide-eyed at Iridessa. She really didn't want to be here? I don't think any of us really want to be here. What was this about? She seemed supportive thus far, but what about Diana made her feel uneasy? Have you met Diana? James turned fully around to Iridessa with a look of mild surprise, before his expression lit up with realization.
Is it because she was once my betrothed?
Yeah. Good. Empathy. Iridessa seemed to wince at the sentence, but nodded nonetheless in response to James's question. I understood why, though. Who would want to be in the same place as the woman who could have taken the one you loved away? James's lips drooped into a frown as he crossed his arms.
I'm sure she has no intentions of taking me away from you.
Oh, she can try.
That's not what I meant. I just...
Iridessa looked down at the ground, pressing her lips together in a fine line.
I guess I'm just not comfortable being here with her. Something about her just... I don't know. I mean, she's a gorgeous succubus and all, and I'm just nothing compared to her.
Oh, wow, sweetie. You're probably more and everything to James compared to her.
Love?
How could I even compete? You two could have ruled together, made a beautiful couple. She could have given you more than I ever could. She is.
Not the one he loves.
Iridessa.
James's tone forced Iridessa to look up at his face, seeing the stern king she, his queen, had married.
There is no competition. You are the woman I chose, the one I wanted, the beautiful and kind woman whom I was lucky enough to marry.
Aww.
I swore to be with you for the rest of my life as your husband.
Aww.
No one in the 5 worlds can make me betray you or lose the love I feel for you.
Aww. Aww. James slowly walked over to Iridessa, wrapping his arms around his wife's waist. She squeezed her arm around him tightly for a moment, before letting out a sigh, the tension leaking from her shoulders as she looked up at him.
You're right. I'm sorry, James. I'm not doubting you, I swear. I guess I've been overthinking a bit lately. Sometimes it's still hard to believe that you chose me, when you could have anyone in the world you desired.
Aww.
You are the only one I desire. I am yours and you are mine forevermore. I vow to give you my entire life and will protect you for as long as I live by your side.
Aww.
Maestro.
Aww. At the mere mention of his demon name, I could see energy pulse around James's form, and he let out a small, pleasured hum as he leaned in and pressed his forehead against Iridessa's.
You know that you're not supposed to use my real name unless you need something.
I should go. Also, just make sure you send housekeeping through when you're done. I could feel a wave of voyeuristic embarrassment run along my cheeks, and as Iridessa looked away from him, biting her lip coyly, James chuckled deeply, however, and kissed her temple, hugging her close to him.
We'll be home soon, I promise. Once this war is over, we'll return and never have to worry about Diana ever again. Okay?
Until the sequel.
Okay. I love you.
I love you too. Always.
Aww. Iridessa finally looked up at James and smiled sweetly. He mirrored her grin, leaning down but stopping halfway, so his love would strain on the edge of her toes to claim her kiss. Her smile shifted into one of mischief as her fingers curled into the soft material of a sweater just over his chest. She tugged, bringing him down so their lips could finally meet. I couldn't help but admire them. They made a picturesque pair, complementing each other in many different ways, be it with fashion, personality, or even with their endearing height difference. Seeing them together, sharing such a sweet moment, reminded me of when I first met her. Iridessa exuded an air of delicate shyness that balanced well with James's commanding presence. I recalled how quiet and polite she had been during our first meeting, full of kind smiles and soft laughter. However, watching Iridessa close the gap between her and the eldest of the brothers made her appear more powerful. She had claimed a would-be king and didn't dare dream of letting him go. I became a little envious of her, but I was happy with the man I had in my life. Yeah, I much prefer my ginger boy to him. Their hands started to wander, and I could feel my cheeks heat up. I realized that I had peeked in on them long enough, wanting to give them some privacy. I turned and left them alone to continue my journey to my room. I treaded towards my... That music sounds oddly tense. I treaded towards my room, admiring the decor, as my mind wandered to Damien. I began to wonder how his training was going. Was he adjusting to his powers once again? Was he holding back? I hope not. The idea of him using his powers seemed a bit thrilling. It had to be years since he used them, after all. What kind of attacks could he do now? Especially in the demon world.
Oh, many things can happen in this world. You're limiting the possibilities so much.
Hello, question mark, question mark, question mark. What are you doing here? I stopped walking, suddenly feeling the room dim a bit as I looked around for the voice. It wasn't Diana, I knew that for a fact. But how was the voice in my dreams back to haunt me? Good question. Was it like how it was able to communicate with me in the human world? I looked around for a mirror, but I found none in sight.
Again, you limit the powers of magic, dear.
Yeah.
Nothing. Sometimes I don't know myself.
And sometimes apparently you can talk without text being on the screen. Cool. I could only glare into the dark, tensing up and preparing myself for a fight. The laughter that echoed from the dark only made me ease up a slight inch.
So eager to fight. Too bad you're not as wise as you are brash.
Yeah, some people find that very endearing. Why don't you just leave me alone?
Because this is entertaining. This little game of will he, can he is just too interesting to pass up. Only a fool would ignore this kind of intrigue.
Wow, you're mean. Then why pretend to be Diana? Exactly. A lingering silence filled the room, making that much more creepy. True. Something about this wasn't right, and I began to feel chills just from standing in the same spot. No one was around to witness me, and I was feeling like prey about to be struck a gnat. At last, a deep chuckle invaded my ears.
Because, dear, I'm what you fear the most.
A giant spider? A snake? What?
Think about it. Or should I replay my little rape scene for you again?
Oh. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can see Mika fearing that way more than those other things. I froze, realizing what she meant. She gave me that horrid nightmare and made me watch it. I knew that something had been wrong with it, outside of it being completely disgusting in the first place. But to think that it was induced by whatever this thing was. Okay, why am I not running for Damien or Diana, like, right this second? I practically snarled at the dark. That was you.
You sound so confident. It feels so good to be recognized.
Oh, I see you, baby. You're going down. I began to prepare an attack, but found myself faltering due to the exhaustion from my training. The harder I tried, the more the room around me began to spin. I had to stop myself, not wanting to faint in the hallway. Yeah, that would be embarrassing. The voice in the air chuckled heartily at my struggle, making me grimace and glare harder at the dark.
Oh, I can't wait until you realize who I actually am. The expression on your face will be just so tantalizing.
Okay, this is creepy. Tell me just, you know what, I'm a go. Screw you, I'm not playing this game. This game was becoming too insane. This was some voice in my head, taunting me and laughing at my struggles, to make it stop playing games with me. The voice only laughed.
You can walk away all you like. I'll always be around, waiting to check in again.
Are you my anxiety demon? Aww. What's stopping me from just ignoring you?
You can't. I'm always there, tickling your brain and reminding you of what you truly believe.
So you are my anxiety monster. Cool. With those last taunting words in my mind, the voice finally vanished. The light of the hallway grew back due to its original glow. I took a breath, looking around and taking in the sight of everything as I realized I was alone once more. How much time had passed? I could only grimace and shake my head, holding it. This was a major issue, but would I be able to fix this on my own? Or would I need help? Let's just jump straight to help. We do not have time for this shit. Damien had problems of his own to deal with. What if I approached Diana about it? Someone, just pick a person. We could even go talk to Mirth if you wanted. I started my journey back to my room with thoughts in my head. What the hell was haunting me? Some kind of ghost? A magical entity? Possible.
Come on! Guess! Just guess!
Anxiety? It sounds a lot like anxiety.
How am I supposed to know?
Oh. I feel shenanigans coming on. I stopped walking at the sound of Faye and Sorrow's voice reverberating through the hall, around the corner breaking my thoughts. They sounded intoxicated? I looked around the corner to see Sorrow, Faye, and to my surprise, Damien, sitting on the ground by the bedroom door. Damien's face was pink as a peach. Aw, that sounds adorable. Matching Sorrow and Faye's intoxicated faces, but his eyes were glimmering in gold. Had Damien been drinking? He didn't seem to be affected by the chatter between Sorrow and Faye.
How am I supposed to know which one you have?
That's a good question.
I can have both!
You could. Damien, ...
See, even he agrees that's not fair.
Exactly. I pressed myself against the wall, listening in further. Why were they all drunk, and what were they even talking about?
I will say though, that human girl is just mega super duper powerful, you know?
Am I? Well, I mean, I guess the wives are here, so there's 4 other human, air quote, girls it could be. And Carrie is a witch, so he might be her. Or she, I don't really know Faye's preferred pronouns.
I'll say, you.
Sorrow gave David a nudge before taking a swig from a seemingly almost empty bottle before continuing to speak to my incubus.
You got really lucky to land a girl like her. Powerful, feisty, smart. She's like a human version of my lady.
What now?
Oh, don't even start talking about Diana, you crazy puppy.
Sorrow, the crazy puppy.
I'm not a puppy.
Yes, you are. You're a puppy. I shook my head, stifling a bit of laugh. This was a little amusing to overhear.
No, she's nothing like her.
Okay. What am I like, sweetie?
Huh?
I stared over at Damien, seeing him run a finger along the rim of the bottle, eyes deep in thought.
She isn't a demon. She's a human, pure and perfect. She would never hurt me or do anything cruel to me.
Also true, but, yeah, pure and perfect aren't really real things. My heart slightly melted at his words. He really thought about me?
I loved her ever since I met her, and she's been there for me for everything. She made me human. Well, almost human anyway.
I will give hats off to the voice actor for this reading. It is hilarious. Damien. Sarah nudged Damien again, laughing a bit.
Well, my lady tried to turn you human. You can't say she didn't try.
Did she? Did she really, puppy?
Not without making the one I love choose something horrible and give her our energy.
Exactly.
Hey now.
Puppy, don't you dare start growling.
Oh, get off your high horse, puppy boy. Diana's got a mean side and you know it.
Uh-huh.
I'm not surprised she tricked him into giving her that energy.
I'm not surprised either. It gives her facets.
But I still love her, even when she's mean.
Wah, such a faithful little puppy.
I think that's called masochism.
That too. But he's a faithful little puppy boy. Damien, ... We are in the middle of a very weird conversation. I just want to go to my room. Damien? I finally turned the corner, facing the three as they looked up at me. As Damien's eyes locked onto mine, I could feel a very weak enthrallment attempt to wrap around my core, but it almost felt sloppily done, allowing me to break through it without even trying. Sarah and Faye scrambled up and pointed at Damien.
It was his fault!
Wow! Truly the best and brightest. Before I could make them stop, the pair of demons practically sprinted down the hall and out of sight around the far corner. But we didn't find out what she had in her hand. Yes, her hands. Faye, get back here. Show me your hands. Leaving me and Damien alone. I pressed my lips together and walked towards Damien. See him gaze hard into my eyes in an attempt to enthrall me. Sweetie? Frickin' consent. Damien? What happened? I mean, I can guess, but I would love to hear it from you. ... He wasn't answering, and I could tell that he was trying to make the enthrallment happen. Still, I remained unfazed. I sighed and crouched down, helping Damien up and ignoring the ornate bottles that fell over in his upward movement. Come on, let's get you inside. And as we come inside to our room, I'm going to call the video to a close. It's been interesting. Also, Drunk Damien is frickin' adorable. And Puppy Boy Drunk is adorable. And Faye's just Faye. So, until next, Lickatail Kiddo.